Right. Welcome to the morning recap. Very interesting and good conversations during fast markets this morning, and a couple of decent trades. Jared put on a couple of really nice trades. Just going to look at what the NASDAQ has done here this morning. One of the things that we talk about a lot on the opening call is when we open with a gap outside of the previous day's regular trading hour session range, we're usually going to be looking for longs. We always have to be cautious about looking for a pullback off of a lot of overnight inventory. And we did see that pullback, which really kind of fizzled out below the VWAP from the overnight session. The overnight session VWAP kind of put a little bit of support there. So as we were kind of looking at that, Jared was looking for an opportunity for a long, and this was one of the good trades he took while we were in that session and watching from the bleachers up there. Thought this was a really good trade. We had the anchored VWAP here. I'm going to go down to a 5-minute chart here so we get a little bit better of view of where that anchored VWAP on this 5-minute chart was when Jared took that long. So the market had looked down, failed to take out the low of the initial balance. And we had a nice long shadow that Jared was talking about. And when he took this long, so we opened, we drove down to that level. He got long right here at 21,420, and he managed to hold that all the way through the initial balance high. The initial balance high was 21,464 and a quarter. When he held it through that, I was like, okay, this is really looking good, because when we open another 30-minute bar above the initial balance high tends to be supportive. The stop he had down here was around 64, 62. He did end up getting stopped out, but he did look for another long opportunity. We stopped short of the anchored VWAP in the regular trading hour session. He ended up taking another long, and he's still long as we are sitting here. One thing about the initial balance that chops me up sometimes is if it does not, well, I mean, you can see here, once we broke out above the initial balance, it became support. We took a long in the house account based on that support that did come out and take out the stop on that. Typically, when we're going to be still looking for longs or looking for continuation, I would look for the market to hold above the initial balance high. It took out those single TPOs, went down to another couple of single TPOs down here, which is where Jared got into that trade, and hopefully he is still in it. We're seeing the market continuing to push back above the initial balance high. The S&P also holding above the initial balance high. Again, remember, we talk about the idea that when we open with a gap, if we can't close the gap relatively early, we look for opportunities for longs, and the longs have certainly been paying that today. A little bit of a deeper pullback towards the gap close in the S&P is a little bit of overnight inventory adjustment that offers better trade location for longs, if that is what we're thinking about doing. And we just took out the IB high, held above it, closed above it, closed another 30-minute bar above it, looked below it, showed a little sign of rejection. We have a poor high or a weak high in the S&Ps. In other words, two 30-minute bar highs are right at the same level. That's a low or no excess high. You might be looking for that to be taken out at some point today, as we continue possibly to see the market hold above this initial balance high. If we break the initial balance high, something may have changed. We'll look for other opportunities. Crude oil had the EIA petroleum status report come out with a little bit of a loss, as far as I remember, is in inventories. Let me take a look here. Yes, a 5 million barrel draw in overall crude inventories, which did give us a little bit of a boost here. But again, the inability on the 30-minute chart for price to remain above the initial balance low gave us a pretty decent opportunity the next time to settlement, which crude oil settlement, let's just be precise here, 69.94. What's the high of this bar? 69.94. 69.95. One tick above settlement. The initial balance low 69.91. A little bit of confluence there. Pretty decent short below that initial balance low. What about gold? What about gold? All right. So gold has been a market that has been fascinating me of late. We've been watching the bases of the late spikes. Now, remember, the late spikes to the downside are when price exit the rate, the current day session range at the end of the day, and then closes below it. So we had one late spike base on the 25th of November. Every time the market has tried to accept down below that, it has been rejected, looking like a support level to me. We had another late spike on whatever day this was. This was the 2nd of December. Again, the late spike. Market has a range. It extends below the range at the end of the day and closes below it. Doesn't give the market time to show acceptance below that level until possibly the following morning. Well, yesterday we opened, we drove higher, finding buyers above that late spike base. Got a little bit too long up there. We had a failed upside auction. The market came back to the late spike base from the 2nd of December, back to settlement. Settlement is such a magnet sometimes. It's truly amazing. Even just watching up here in the bleachers, just watching how often price does go back to settlement. Now, settlement is not the last trading price of the day. It is the price that the exchange marks the market for open positions that are going to be opened while the market is closed. It used to be a real big deal in the pit days before 23-hour a day trading, but it's still the exchange has to mark all those positions to a specific level for margins. If you're below margins, you're going to have to come up with your margin call by the following morning. It's just a level that everybody knows about, everybody kind of looks at or should know about. I remember asking my dad, why are you always looking for settlement? He says, take a chart, look back. How often does settlement get revisited if price opens away from it? And it happens a lot. Anyways, gold opens at 720. The 720 to 721 opening range remains the absolute low of the regular trading hour session. Where did that come from? Where is that base of the late spike? 26.60 where's the beginning of the range at the 720 open? 26.60 half, 26.60 I think it is actually, with the opening range remaining the low of the session above the base of the late spike, which has been showing support to this point. Pretty decent opportunity to perhaps look for a continuation long to the upside. The initial balance high is 26.73. Once the market broke above there, this would have been really an opportunity to increase longs, looking for perhaps yesterday's high, yesterday's failed upside auction yesterday for a potential exit for that long. Well, would have been a pretty decent exit. And now look what the market is doing. It is testing back to the IB high. Is this going to be supportive? Are we going to rally from here? If we don't, we fall back into the body of the profile from the day. And we could probably just do a nice little job of rotating the way we did last night. But some really interesting things in these markets. A great session with Jared and Coach Jay. We're going to be back. Well, I'll be back for the afternoon recap here in a little while. But as far as what we've got coming here, we've got, what do we have here? Trading with Top Step, JD Dolby and Carlos P coming up, to make sure you don't miss that. And remember, this is Top Step TV. Let's go.